Common Knowledge is brought to you by PureMTGO.com and InkedGaming.com. Use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout for a 10% discount on all Inked Gaming supplies and accessories. You can support the show directly through Patreon at patreon.com/common knowledge.
This is the Common Knowledge Podcast. It's not about the cost, it's about the knowledge. Here are your hosts, Brandon Clark and Lauber.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Common Knowledge. This is episode 51 of the Common Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon, and joined with me, as always, is my lovely assistant, Sean the Lauber.
Bruh.
What's up? Hey, how your week been?
It's had its ups and downs, but pretty good. Bad news. I subscribed to World of Warcraft.
Uh-oh.
That's bad news for anyone who was enjoying how I was spending my free time.
Yeah. You skipped Pauper last Tuesday. I was like, hey, let's go play some Pauper. I'll give us a ride down. And Sean's like, no, I'm going to play World of Warcraft.
Tuesdays are hard, man.
Yeah, they're so hard. You just stayed at home all day and played World of Warcraft.
Well,
Wow.
Wow. How are you this week?
I'm the same. I've also had some ups and some downs. On the ups, my school is done. All the
Yeah,
done.
I was going to say, that's better than last week where you were just like, I just want to die.
Yeah. This week I'd be a little sad if a meteor hit me.
That's exactly what you said, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Last week I wanted a meteor to hit me. This week I'd kind of be like, oh man, well, I was going to enjoy my vacation. Couldn't you have hit me a few days earlier or waited a couple weeks? Stupid meteor.
I don't understand when people are like, he died doing what he loved. And I was like, kill me right before doing something I hate. Right?
Yeah.
Let me finish that.
Yeah, let me finish doing what I love. Take me while I'm while I'm at work getting yelled at by a customer or something. Just let me get struck. And I spill hot tea all over them. Gotcha. That'd be the best way to go. My soulless body limp on the table, hot tea all over this angry woman's face, and I'm just laughing. Gotcha.
Looking up, you're like, look at your body from the bad place.
No, man. The floor. I was going to try to make a floor joke about the floor being really high on... The floor's really high on getting into heaven, so... I don't know where I'm going. But no, it's been good. It's been bad. The good is that school is done for winter break, and I've got a bit of time off, and I'm going to try to play a healthy amount of Magic.
A healthy amount.
And the funny. Bad is I'm really worried about my GPA because I got the dates mixed up for one of my finals. And it put me from a really high C to a really high, it was a low B. It was like an 80, right at an 80%. And now I'm at a 69%.
That's something you can recover from, but
yeah.
A lot of the time if you just ask your professor, hey, I'm really close to a C. Is there anything that we can do here?
Yeah,
is there anything
I reached out
cleaned?
to him.
That's not an innuendo.
I did reach out to him to see if I could make something happen, and he was just kind of like, oh, you've missed it. You missed it. What are you going to do about it? You missed it. And I'm like, okay, I guess I missed it. But I'm pretty sure the D is still good for my degree. I didn't fail the class, and it's not a prerequisite class or anything, so I don't know that I need to pass it with a C.
Do they pull things on you like they do in college Like, is that technically college? I don't know. Anyway, where they're like, you know,
Technically a
when
college, yeah.
when you're in your profession and they need that cake ordered and you show up a day late, they're not even gonna pay you, so you get a D.
No, I've literally never had a college professor say anything like that to me. Like
Oh.
they really just don't care. Like they're kind of like you're great, you're paying for it. I'm here doing my thing, and if you're not gonna care, then like why do I care? I'm not gonna lecture you. You're a grown ass man.
Oh, I've had them do that to me.
Yeah. See,
I'm
I've
like-
never had that experience, but I've also only been in school for one semester, so who knows? Maybe I'll get that teacher that cares. Oh my gosh, let's talk about some magic.
Okay. Magic.
Magic time. So what did you do? What did you play? Did you play? Did you do any playing? Huh? What you play? Did you play? Tell me what you played. Are you playing anything right now? What did you play last week? Is it good? Did you play anything?
What are we playing?
So I played some games with my Snow Jund list. Like I was just trying to. There's like 2 slots in that I just can't get right. Like no matter what I put in there, it's just not the right card. And that I think that comes from being like a 3-color deck where all of the colors are really tight, and I don't really want to add anything of a specific color. I just want it to be colorless. All the colorless spells suck. Anyway, I played that, and then I was brewing up my white, really fast aggro deck with all of the 2/1s with like 15 lands in it. And I was having some fun with that. Just for some reason, I was playing in the tournament practice room, and I played against Tron. I think like 4 games in a row, all different opponents, just Tron, and just playing a deck where you're trying to play 3 guys on turn 2. I ended up winning a lot of those games. What are you playing?
So I'm playing more Blue Black Delver, because I've got to figure out if foil's good. Like everyone seems to think it is, and I'm starting to agree with them that yeah, foil's pretty good. I don't have a huge sample size to pull from yet, so I'm going to keep playing. So far, though, it's been kind of awkward with Gurmag Angler, because I remember that was a big thing last week that I was excited about. Was like I just kind of overlooked the interaction with Gurmag Angler, but it's sort of like I want to save my foil to protect my Gurmag Angler,
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like I'm like, well, it's a Black Lotus or it's a Dark Ritual for my Gurmag Angler or something, or Black Lotus or whatever. So I kind of want to use it now so I can get a fast Gurmag Angler out. And then that leads me to like using my foil on spells that are just kind of derpy.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like, oh man, if I foil this, I can cast Gurmag Angler next turn, but like, am I gonna 3-for-1 myself to counter a prophetic prism? Or like, oh, this feels bad. So I don't know. I'm still on the fence.
Yeah, that's where
I'm
that's the
still
first question I
undecided.
wanted to ask when I saw these show notes of like, what is the quality of spell on average you have been countering?
It's not been high. I mean, every once in a while you do get like the nuts where you're like, I've got a threat or something, and they go for something big or to kill your threat, and you're like, gosh, foil, and they're just like,
Impossible.
Yeah, no one's been able to summon him. Yeah, you get to do that to your opponent, and it feels very powerful. But then you're just like, well, I can save my foil and play my Gurmag Angler in 2 more turns, or I can just foil this random spell, play my Gurmag Angler next turn, and hope it sticks. That sometimes does get you there, but in some matchups, you kind of just are like, well, I really need to make sure I protect this, or there's a spell that I absolutely can't let resolve. So
Yeah, that's I think what I was thinking was the best case scenario in that deck was you protect your Gurmag Angler, and then they have to dig to find the next spell or 2-for-1 themselves and hope that you don't have a second foil type of thing. But
yeah,
if you're doing it pre-Angler, then you're just kind of down. You're up on tempo, down on cards.
yeah, it's it's been really odd so far. I still just am not sure how I feel about it.
I think that's a good sign that you're
Um,
not over the moon about it.
yeah, so far, like the times where I felt like really good about casting Gush are the outliers. Like those times where it's just the nuts, as opposed to when it's just like really mediocre. Like
Hmm.
it just feels like casting a bad force of will, in a grindy matchup where it's like I don't even know if I want force of will in my deck going into the next game.
Hmm.
That feels like that's the common practice. Like that's just what is most commonly happening. And then those few instances where I just foil is just clutch seem to have been fewer and far between. But I don't know. Again, like my sample size is really small. I haven't played that many games with it, so I'm gonna keep playing it, keep trying it, and seeing how it feels. I feel like if foil's gonna be good, it's gonna be in this deck,
Hmm.
and I don't know.
It's
I,
not going to be in the
I
deck we brewed last week.
oh, it's definitely gonna be in that deck.
No, I mean that's going to be optimal.
Yeah. Well, I
Kidding.
mean, everyone else seems to think that 3 copies of foil in this blue blacklist is sort of the way to go. That's just what I'm seeing. That seems to have become commonplace for this deck list. So yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think as far as like deck theory of like seeing multiple in a game, I don't know if I want to see one
Yeah.
early game, one mid game, which is what 3 basically means. So, well,
Yeah,
I want you to keep testing that out.
yeah. I think that where I'm at, I'm gonna keep playing 3 for the time being, but I think that where I'm at is I want to go down to 2 and see if that feels a little better. But I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know if I need it. Between like I can just cut the copies of foil, play the 4th counter spell, and play more copies of like Thought Scour and stuff to help turbo out my Gurmag Angler. Because Thought Scour is also a Black Lotus for my Gurmag Angler that replaces itself instead of 3-for-1 speed.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yeah, I wish like, oh, I wish I had a counter spell for whatever their threat is, or they killed my Gurmag Angler. But a lot of the times, I just get there with Gurmag Angler. You
Are you
know,
ever card casting it?
I think the most I've ever spent for Gurmag Angler is like 4 or 5.
No, I mean for foil.
Oh, for foil, I have never hard cast it yet. No, because I don't know now that foil is in my deck, I'm holding lands, so I'm very rarely getting to 4. Like I'm always making sure that I'm holding an island in case I don't draw my gush, which has been like another thing too, where I'm like, oh, should I play this island so I can have 3 mana and be able to do like multiple things in a turn and then hope I can find a gush? Or
That
do I like play this island, and never find it, or like hold this island and never draw foil anyway? It's just sort of
that seems awkward.
it's sort of like we felt in the set review. Foil is lending itself to a lot of awkward scenarios.
Yeah,
But
the reason I was happy when you're like not over the moon about it is, I don't want a banning. I don't want this to be a problem. I want it
yeah,
to be good. I don't want it to be oppressive.
yeah, and it's funny because we went from like this sort of like in the middle opinion of like foil's probably fine. It's got a lot of restrictions that go along with it. To last week, we were kind of like, okay, we were probably wrong about this. This seems really good, and I was really excited about it in this blue blacklist. And now I'm back, having played it. I'm back to where I was 2 weeks ago, where I'm like, it's fine, but all these problems that we talked about are still there, and they exist, and they hurt.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm just gonna keep playing with it, keep trying to figure it out, see if maybe 3 is too much. But yeah, we'll just see.
All right, are we
So
ready to move on to card of the week,
yeah, let's talk about our card of the week this week.
where we can keep talking about the deck of the month?
Card of the week.
Our card of the week is Snuff Out. Snuff Out is 3 and a black for an instant speed. I wanted to put something out of it. An instant speed spell. How about that? It says, destroy target non-black creature. It can't be regenerated. If you control a swamp, you may pay 4 life rather than pay Snuff Out's mana cost. So this is a free kill spell. In Pauper, the only thing this really doesn't hit that's important is Gurmag Angler. The rest of the stuff, you should, like, especially the blue-black deck, has other ways to interact with, and it's just a huge tempo gain.
Yeah. I think we've talked about it before, where we feel like getting to a point in the game where you're able to double spell is really important in Pauper. I mean, it's important in all Magic games, period, but I think it's very important in Pauper, being able to do that. And this is just a way that you are able to commit a threat to the board and remove an opponent's threat, where you don't have to give up tempo to do one or the other. You get to do both. You get to have your cake and eat it too. That kind of makes me look like Gumby.
That's weird.
Nah.
Most people listen to the podcast and don't watch the video. So
Well, now you guys are incentivized to go to the Constructed Criticism YouTube page and like and subscribe there so that you can...
Spoiler, he doesn't actually look like Gumby. He just, I think, feels like Gumby for some reason.
Just look like an idiot. What were we talking about?
Oh, we were talking about Snuff Out.
Oh, that card's bad.
So I think one of the reasons that this card is really, really good right now is mono black control isn't as popular as it used to be.
Yeah, there seem to be a lot less black creatures moving around, with the exception of the Gurmagor Wrangler.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I mean,
there's just a lot of things it kills.
Every deck that has Gurmagor is running blue creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a dead card. So this used to be like a card you put in your sideboard in case you needed it. And where we're at right now, it kind of just belongs more in your main deck. And then if you're in a matchup where like it really isn't good, which I guess would be like burn, you take it out.
And even in the burn matchups, like it's not completely dead because they do have creatures that can deal you a lot of damage. Obviously, it's not ideal, but like I would rather snuff out their 0/3 than let it, deal me 5 damage over the course of the game. Still definitely boarding it out. I want to make sure the listeners don't think that I'm a psycho and I'm keeping snuff outs in my deck against burn, but it's not completely dead in that matchup either. So,
yeah, you can see yourself casting it even for the 4 life.
Yeah. So one of the things about this card is it does have a sort of a requirement to it, right? You've got to, in addition to the 4 life you got to pay, you do need to control a swamp. So the mana bases that you're going to see this card go along with are typically like the Ash Baron's Terramorphic Expanse kind of mana bases, where you can get easy access to one of your swamps, especially in like the blue-black deck where you only have 2 swamps in your whole deck. So you need something to try to get to those guys.
I mean, and then I think what helps with that is you're already running that Terramorphic Expanse Ash Barons plan, and that supports a Gush strategy and an Angler strategy, since all of those dump things into the graveyard, which is just icing and just strong. Like everything's working together to kind of make this deck that we think is really good right now.
Yeah, so in the context of the blue-black deck, I think it was less that this deck was trying to accommodate Snuff Out as much as it was that Snuff Out just fit in what they were already doing, Like I don't think Snuff Out is the type of card you're just putting into any deck, right?
It wasn't their build-around card, but it just
fit a certain mold.
And it just feels kind of broken to have a Terramorphic Expanse in play, and then they do something, and you're just like, okay, fetch, get a swamp. play a free black spell because I have a tapped land that I just went and got this turn. Like that feels super good.
Yeah, and it's something you've always got to think about too, from as the opponent. Just always bearing in mind that at any time they have that fetch land in play, they could go find their basic swamp and cast a Snuff Out. So it's not something where you can be like, oh, they don't have access to mana, they're not doing anything. Well, there's a lot of things that this deck does for free. They daze you, they foil you, they snuff you out.
Do you have any points, extra points before I kind of derail us on this card?
No, let's get derailed.
All right, so
let's take this show off the road.
Let's take this show off the format.
That's not proper.
So I was talking about this with my coworker. I actually think that Snuff Out has seen few enough printings lately, and it's a really old card. This card's like $2 right now in paper, that I think this could be an expensive card. Like, it's the next Oubliette. Like, the number one deck in our format is blue-black Delver right now, I want to say. And
yeah,
this
card
is one
gets
of those
played in Legacy.
Yeah, so like this could be an expensive card. And he was like, well, if it gets expensive, they can reprint this in Standard. And I was like, no. Like,
I don't think they reprint this card in Standard, but this card is really easy to reprint in a Commander product or another supplemental product.
Absolutely.
Unlike Oubliette, which I think
Yeah,
the reason it hasn't been reprinted is it's just so hard to find a place for that card. The templating on it's so weird. It just does something that's just really bizarre that I just don't know that Wizards wants to really deal with.
But do you think the power level is too high for Modern and Standard? Like, for even this Draft? Yeah, for Snuff Out. I want to say it's too high. Like, this card feels nuts right now.
Yeah, I think for Standard, yes. I think for Modern, maybe not. But I don't think this card will ever be introduced to Modern because I don't think that's going to go into a Standard set anytime soon.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to bring that up to talk to you about.
If we're going to go into hashtag MTG Finance, I don't like this card at $2. I think that if it was $1, maybe less, I like picking them up. But at $2, I would say just pick up the ones you need for your deck. I don't know that I would want to speculate on a card like this. I think it's just,
I'm a terrible speculator.
I listen to MTG Finance podcast, so I know all the things. No, I don't know anything.
Anyway, I think we've gone out of our format, and that's when we need to call it for our card of the week.
I thought you said call it for the day. I was like, sweet, see you later.
Bye. That was our episode on Snuff Out. And what are we playing? So, ready for the main topic?
Yeah, let's get into the meat of the show.
Main topic.
Let's go ahead and just talk about some of the 5.0 deck lists that have been posted from Pauper leagues. There's not a lot interesting in here, but there are a few points that I kind of want to cover on that I think are important for the listeners for their own leagues. So we had Is It Blitz 5.0. There were a couple Marasatron lists. That's just stock, right? Like, I don't think there's anything really to touch on. Like, I think at this point, Marasatron is just an established tier of the meta, right?
Right, yeah. Were they more Elvish Rejuvenator lists or not? That's the big thing that I would kind of be curious about, because I've seen both around.
Okay. So what are the Elvish Rejuvenator lists? Are they doing anything particularly different other than they just have Rejuvenator in the deck?
Yeah, it's basically they have Rejuvenator in the deck is my big question.
Okay. So let's see. This first deck list is from Hellsow. This is one of those 4-color lists with Stonehorde dignitaries in the main deck.
Oh.
Got shot one of in the main.
I feel like these decks are really relying on Ghostly Flicker.
Yeah. Like these Tron decks seem to be going really hard on the Ghostly Flicker plan, Whereas like Tron decks of like a month ago, that was just sort of like a backup plan. They could still play this really strong value game. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is Stonehorn Dignitary like worth playing if you can't reliably flicker it? I
No,
don't think so,
I
right?
don't think so.
So yeah, you've got to be like all in on trying to ghostly flicker combo. Do you think this is a crutch for the Tron decks right now, or do you think like the meta is just in a right place where ghostly flicker is just really powerful?
I want to say it feels like a crutch because it can kind of be kicked out from under them. Like if you're someone who comes prepared for a Tron deck that's relying on ghostly flicker and can get down a relic or two, like if you're somebody who is willing to put 3 Relic of Progenitus in your sideboard, you actually can beat these Tron lists because they're going to run out of things they can do out of their yard. Whereas like I feel like the old Tron lists that were like, yeah, if I lose cards in my graveyard, I don't get the value off of Forbidden Alchemy and Mystical Teachings as often, and then my Ghostly Flicker plan is harder, but they were also just fine like putting a Dinrova Horror in play with Counterspell backup and like countering you 6 times. Like that's not to say that these lists are completely devoid of that, but it's harder for them since they're using slots on things like Elvish Rejuvenator.
Okay. The next Tron list I'm looking at is from top_cake. And this looks like just blue-red Tron, but they do have a single Pulsamarasa in the main deck and black for the backsides of Mystical Teachings and Forbidden Alchemy.
But I don't like that.
This list has 2 copies of Fire Ice.
I want to be prepared for Gurmag Anglers right now, so red is
Okay.
not the removal color I'm like excited about.
So we're looking at 3 Flame Slash, Rolling Thunder. There's a Capsize, 3 Condescends, Essence Scatter, 1 Exclude, 2 Fire Ice, 1 Forbidden Alchemy, 1 Ghostly Flicker, 2 Lightning Bolt, 2 Teachings, 1 Prohibit, 1 Pulsamarasa, 2 Expedition Map, 1 Prismatic Lens, 4 Prophetic Prism, and then their creatures, 2 Mnemonic Walls, 4 Muldrifter, 3 Seagate Oracle.
Yeah, that's like 5 or 6 slots they spent on burn, and I'm not sure about that right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing any Elvish Rejuvenators out of these deck lists, though, so...
I guess that's something that the rest of us who are not playing blue-black Delver really would be afraid of. Like, that's a strong list if you're not playing a 5/5.
Yeah, that's reasonable. So you think it probably just does really well against most matchups, you think? It just those Gurmag Angler matchups are probably rougher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next deck list, we have a Tribe combo deck. 1 copy of Daze in the main deck, 0 copies of Foil. Nothing else really interesting about that. We've got just a random elf deck, which I'm not super big on elves anymore. Like, I don't know why. I don't know if I could really say why. I just don't feel good about it right now in the meta. Like, it just feels like, I don't know, Fire Ice maybe, but maybe there's just not a lot of Fire Ice like I thought there would be. So maybe this is just like preconceived notion from what I thought the format would look like after UMA drops.
Yeah.
And it's not really that way. So elves is actually probably just a fine choice.
I still don't like elves versus Tron. That's a recipe for getting shriveled and
yeah,
like just burned until they're set up with they're making more mana than you.
Yeah. I'm curious what the because I've never been a huge fan. I don't know. I think like the elves and the Scred Delver matchup's pretty close. It just kind of goes either way. Like if elves get out really fast and blue-red stumbles on finding its red mana, they lose. But if Scred just kind of it like seamlessly just finds its red mana, has an Electrickery, things can be really bad for the blue-red deck. And when I was actually doing some testing with Fire Ice, and if they ever drew Fire Ice, if they fired you on turn 2, like the game just felt over. From like I was playing the elf side and my buddy was playing the scred side.
What were they taking out for the fire ice?
I can't remember what I cut. It was my deck. Let's think about it. I cut out. I was playing 2 copies in the main deck. I think I cut down on cantrips, honestly. Like instead of playing the full 10, I was just playing 8. I was also just on 4 scred, 3 lightning bolts, so I didn't have the 4th lightning bolt. I don't know. It could also be appropriate just to cut an extra lightning bolt. But
I thought
I don't know.
4 and 3 was the default, and then put in a fire ice over lightning bolt 3 and go down to 2.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah, 4 and 3 is the default, but there have been a lot of lists that are moving up to the full 8. I honestly don't remember what I cut out of it, but yeah, I just remember that the games felt very one-sided when the scred player drew a fire and ice before turn 3. There was even one game where he iced me on turn 2 or fired me on turn 2 and then fired me on turn 3. And I just had no way to win that game at all. So
yeah, I'd imagine the fairy draws are pretty tough for elves as well, where they're just like, spell stutter you, counterspell you. It doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah. You can kind of just like the elf player can still play multiple spells in a turn pretty reliably, but it's not difficult to just like evaluate what you need to counter and what you can just let resolve. Like, if the elf player leads with like a Curian Ranger to try to bait you, just like let it resolve. You really just need to focus on the payoff spells. Make sure they don't resolve a Lead the Stampede or a tribal. What's that tribal spell that draws cards called?
Distant Melody?
Distant Melody. For some reason, I wanted to call it Glimmer of Genius.
That's something else that I don't know what it is.
That card's a standard card that has something to do with energy.
That's not Popper.
But yeah, you just kind of like, they're big draw spells. You don't let resolve. If you don't have an effect, if you don't have like a lightning bolt at like ready to go, you don't want Elvish Vanguard to resolve, and then Timberwatch Elf. Those are kind of the big ones that, like, everything else you can just ignore kind of, because you can lock down the ground with 2/2s and 1/3s, and then you just counter the things that are going to kill you. And so like you can let the elf player kind of get ahead by double spelling in a turn, just as long as you make sure you're answering those few threats that actually kill you, and like don't let them like load up on something big. Like I think that's where I get most of my wins, is like I like bait them to tap their mana by like casting something silly like here's a Well-Wisher, and they're like, oh, I don't want them to gain 6 life. Spellsearch Sprite it, and they're tapped out, and I'm just like, Lead the Stampede. I draw 5 cards. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about your counter spells anymore because I just drew 5 cards. So,
yep, removal. There's a lot of removal right now for elves.
Yeah. So anyway, keep going down the list. Some of the other notable things are the Blue-Red Delver lists that I've seen are not playing Fire Ice.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me. And Blue-Black Delver put 3 decks into the top 8 of the challenge. And Stompy put 2 decks into the top 8 of the challenge. I think those are sort of like the biggest takeaways from, these 5-0 lists from these leagues. So
reading that, Blue-Black being strong, Tron being strong, that both of those say to me, keep your relics in your sideboard, because I'm a relic guy. I always run my relics. And I know that I look at challenge results and I just go over their sideboards, and I'm like, there's 1 relic in the top 8, 1 relic. Like we did that before when we were going over graveyards, and there's just not that many. I'm always like, how are you leaving home without these? But, they're putting up results like without them. But I still believe in that card.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to be playing some graveyard removal right now. Like whether it's relics or Nihil spell bombs or something. I've actually seen Fairy Macabre a few times
Oh.
recently. I've seen that in a few sideboards. So
And right now with foil being, like, if people are testing foil, I wouldn't be surprised to meet up with some Exhume decks, and I want to be prepared for those in a big way.
yeah, people trying to get off that Exhume foil synergy. But yeah, this kind of just leads me to one other big question that I've had about this meta, and as you've been playing the deck recently and have a little experience, I just want to know, why is the burn gone? But why is the burn gone?
Where's the burn gone? Why'd you burn all the burn?
You burned all the food, the shade, the burn. Yes, the burn is gone.
I like how you put up some of our stats from our power rankings. So July it had 28. In August it went up to 33. September down to 25. October down to 8. November down to 6. And we're just seeing like that was a spike, and then it's definitely sloping off and becoming like one of the tier 2 underplayed decks again. And the spike was because G2 Lava Runner was printed, and I think a lot of people were testing it out and excited about burn. And if you look at deck lists nowadays, like if you just go down and look at as many burn lists as you can from challenges and from league results, G2 Lava Runner's more of a rarity again. Like I was all like, we were like, dang it, we were wrong. G2 Lava Runner's actually really, really good in this. And we ate our words, and then, I mean, do we have to eat our words a second time? Like, did we vomit them up and have to eat them again?
That's interesting. I'll have to look into more of that again, because either I just haven't been noticing, but I just still assume that like G2 Lava Runner is a major part of those burn decks.
Like, it was a lot of Thermo Alchemist and Firebrand Archers, or like some mix. Like people are just mixing it, and then, you know, Keldon Marauders. Like, I've always been confident that Keldon Marauders is the worst of all of those, but you know, people are kind of confident that Keldon Marauders is good. I was loving burn when I was running Gitaxian probes
and Lava Runners.
And Lava Runners. Like,
well, maybe
I was like,
maybe
it can't
that
get any
is
better
just,
than this.
Maybe that is just the answer to where is the burn gone, is that they've stopped playing good cards, and so now their deck's just worse.
That's my theory. That's what when I kept on looking at this, I was just like, we have a format full of removal right now. You know, Tron, you're going to see Doomblades and, you know, all of these little kill spells. You've got 2 kinds of Delver, and you're expecting to untap with your guy and then deal up to 3 damage. Like, at that point, Keldon Marauders might be better than your Thermo Alchemist if that's the meta.
But you don't think that you would ever want to replace G2 Lava Runner with the Keldon Marauder, though? You'd rather play like Marauders plus Lava Runners, or like Lava Runners plus Alchemist.
So one of the strongest parts about burn that I was finding, I was like, oh, I get it. One of the reasons Lava Runner is so good is you can start pointing your burn spells at their creatures to clear a path, and then you've got this repeatable source of damage that they have to spend resources to deal with. So your burn spells now go with their creatures, which buys you more time, and you have this repeatable source of damage. Whereas it was kind of the opposite with the other guys. I'm mostly thinking Thermo Alchemist. You don't want to clear a path. He's kind of blocking their path and buying you time that way. But a good burn player would just, most decks, they wouldn't risk it. You know, they don't want to get blown up by a mutagenic growth or, you know, some other random thing adding together enough damage to kill their Thermo Alchemist. So, like, what I want to think is, you know, you guys just aren't doing it right. You're just not doing burn right.
That's interesting. One of the other things that I've been seeing lately, and we've seen it in our power rankings, is this white-red rally deck that's been showing up. Like, it's been getting really popular. Like, I want to say like the last 2 months, it's had really good finishes on our power rankings. And like that card's playing Sacred Cat in the main deck, Seeker of the Way in the main deck. It's just all sorts of life gain.
Which is a nightmare for a burn deck. That's true. Like, I hadn't considered that.
Yeah, do you think that could be enough, though, to be knocking burn out? Because this white-red deck has been at the top of the rankings. It's been performing really well.
It has been. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, it does have like prismatic strands and stuff. Like, then again, I want to say that it is just kind of slower, and you can make the deck stutter, and they have to do things like Faithless Looting, and they have to play with their mana to get it to work right, and you can just go under them. I guess you don't have that big of a backup plan if they end up casting a Seeker of the Way that connects.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I'm perplexed because I know that at one point you and I were having the discussion on if we thought that Burn was just one of the best decks in the format. And I don't know that my opinion's changed. I think that it should still be at the top of our power rankings. It should still be 5-0ing leagues. It should still be, just putting up results in the challenges, and it's just not.
Right. I mean, the decks it was good against were Scred Delver, Mono Blue Delver, and now they have to deal with a Gurmag Angler standing in your way, which that is pretty scary. One of my strategies against a Gurmag Angler deck was to have enough cards in my sideboard to take out all 4 of my Lava Runners, blink all of their removal, and then just, like, I'm going to play Seal of Fires, and just, like, Shocks are better than my Lava Runners sometimes.
Yeah.
That is a tough place to be in. So I think there are factors like pushing this down. I think the white-red rally just being like the matchup made in heck, like that's a pretty good reason. And then if I think about like fighting a Gurmag Angler, that might be enough. So yeah. I don't think Burn deserves like a number 1 slot. Like it doesn't.
Oh, sure.
It doesn't deserve to be, top 4 decks, but it also doesn't deserve to be at 6 points.
Okay. See, because that's interesting. I still feel like I might have placed it in the top 4 decks. Maybe over like Mono Blue Delver or something.
I mean, with our top 4 being Scred Delver, Blue Black Delver, Marasatron, Boros Monarch, that's 4. It's not better than those decks.
Yeah, I believe you.
Maybe but the deck is good against Stompy, so if Stompy keeps coming back, I would expect Burn to be good again. Better again. And do you think...
And Stompy has been making a comeback, and the Stompy lists are diverting towards those really old school versions of the deck, like Wild Mongrel, Rancor decks, no Elephant Guides.
Mm-hmm. And the hexproof creatures were the worst because you couldn't deal with them with your Searing Blaze.
Yeah.
So if they're not so in on that strategy...
Burns just got it a lot better off, right?
Yeah. I'm not yet convinced that White-Red Rally has staying power. I think it's a good deck and I respect it, but I've played enough Pauper to be skeptical when a new deck hits the format.
Yeah, I don't know. I think these White-Red Rally decks are really good, but...
Will they retain people's interest, I guess is the bigger question.
Yeah, I guess.
I hate that that's part of the question, of like a deck can be really good, just no one's paying attention to it. Yeah. And everyone has to make judgment calls, so our data isn't that good. Yeah,
do you feel like that's going to change though, now that Pauper is starting to come into the scene more as a competitive format? Do you think that's going to change, or are people still just going to play whatever they want to play?
I think that's something that we struggle with a lower population size. Like there's not so many people testing that decks can fly under the radar for extended periods of time. Whereas, if you've got thousands of people testing decks, or I guess we already have thousands. If we have way more than that, then things get tough. Like things get tough to hide, and people figure things out. That's not to say it can't. Tons of people play Modern, and people show up to Pro Tours with their super secret tech and just blow everyone away all the time, don't they?
I think it's happened like twice.
Oh, well.
The German guy showed up with Tarmogoyfs in his Splinter Twin deck, and Channel Fireball showed up with the Eldrazi deck. Those are the only 2 times that I can really think of.
I guess maybe not Pro Tours, but I guess GPs and stuff too count in my head.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I feel like that doesn't happen in Modern as often as it happens in Standard. But every once in a while, something does happen in Modern. The last one I can think of is when Matt Nass won a GP with KCI combo. That deck sort of just popped up out of nowhere, and then Matt Nass won 3 GPs in a row or something stupid like that. And the conversation wasn't ban Mox Opal or ban Ironworks. The conversation was just ban Matt Nass from GPs. He's too good. He's too good.
That's not Popper.
All right, sweet. So you're going to play a challenge this week. What are you playing?
Oh, crap. That's a question that I would think about for a couple weeks, or at least a week.
Well, you only have a week.
Can I look at some data? I'm going to look at some data.
Yeah.
Gotta be good against Tron and Delver. So you gotta be resilient to removal and counter spells. Man, Blue-Black Delver just consistently makes my life hard. This is a really bad idea. I don't know if I could do it. Part of me wants to say Red Deck wins, but that seems terrible going against Blue-Black Delver. I don't think the speed is enough to overcome. I just don't want to be in combat with a 5/5. I just hate it. I would probably brew something. I would probably use one of my brews, which it doesn't really help anyone besides myself.
Interesting. Is there a brew in particular that you would lean towards, or are you just thinking something along the lines of, I don't know, do you need a clock fast enough to try to kill Tron, or are you just going to kind of get there on Relic of Progenitus, your sideboard plans, and then you want to try to have game against Gurmag Angler decks?
It's so Tron. I mean, Relic alone isn't enough, because if you the games will go long if you do that. And they have Capsize now. They're running a lot of Capsize, and that's pretty annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, while I think of my answer, do you have a quick answer?
Yeah, I got a kind of quick answer. So I actually thought about this question a lot, because I actually might try and play a challenge this Sunday.
Oh, that'd be exciting.
Play my first challenge. I might. It's still up in the air on if I'll be able to or not. But at first I thought about wanting to play White Red Rally, or one of these more linear decks, and I thought about White Red Rally as one of those decks that does, I think, have a lot of game against a lot of the decks in this meta, but it also, with Rally of the Peasants and Faithless Looting, you're able to get some of those oops I win games, where you just have kind of a nut draw on your opponent and there's just not really any good ways for them to interact. But the more I think about it, the more I think I will just play Blue-Black Delver. At first I was I don't know if I'll be able to play it proficiently, or if I have to get into the mirror, am I going to be able to navigate the mirror match? And the more I thought about it, the more I've just decided that I would just rather play the best deck. And I think this deck is clearly the best deck, and just playing the best deck in the format will give me the edges I need.
I think you're right, yeah. Because the conclusion when you were starting to come up with your answer, I was yeah, I would just play Tron.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would just play Tron.
Strong deck. Instead of trying to be fancy and trying to game the meta, just play a deck that is solid. I don't think
that it's easy. I think it's too hard to next level the meta right now. Like every time I try to come up with something of like, all right, well maybe I'll put a couple extra heal cutters in my red deck wins deck. But what if they just foil it and then they have a 5/5 I'm facing down and I'm just not attacking for 3 turns? Then I'm going, what do I do against Tron? They could just cast a bunch of capsizes on me. If I do try to play any kind of grindy deck, okay, well I can't play a grindy deck now because they're just going to go over the top. So I'm not comfortable playing Blue-Black Delver at all. Like, I could probably pilot it, but I know I would make some mistakes and foil in the wrong places and be frustrated with my hands and mulligan poorly. So I know how to play Tron.
Okay, that's fair. Do you think that you're ever going to try to learn Blue-Black Delver just so that you can have that style of deck in your toolbox?
It doesn't feel like my style of deck.
Well, no, but I mean, Tron's not my style of deck either, and I would consider playing that too if I felt like that was what was going to give me the best chance of like winning a challenge or top 8ing a challenge.
It's just that's what I'm most comfortable with. I know how it plays, and yeah, I would definitely play. I'd play Tron. I'd play. Everybody plays Tron a little bit different with their extra couple spice cards and stuff like that. I would just play my spice version of Tron.
Okay. Sweet. So playing a challenge. If we're playing a challenge this week, Sean's wanting to play Tron of some kind. I'm going to play Blue-Black Delver. I'm going to try to play a challenge this week. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm going to see if I can make it happen somehow. So anyway, that was our show today. This week, the show of the week. That was the show of the week, everybody.
End times.
Thank you guys for listening to Common Knowledge. That was episode 51. Man.
You're getting the numbers right. I think that's a first.
I had to scroll up to the top of the show notes and look at it. Thank you guys again for listening. We're going to move into our final segment of the show. Hashtag always promoting. If you guys would like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/common knowledge. You'll be able to see Sean's graph. You'll be able to, or that's for free. Anyone can just go to the Patreon page and see that. Patrons of any level, you have access to the Common Coliseum videos. And we're still trucking towards our stretch goal, $50 for that 5-card blind tournament. If you want to know about that, go to the Patreon page. You'll be able to see all the rules and information regarding that. If you want to email us, you can do so at commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners. We'll usually read your email on the show. If it's just completely silly, Sean and I will certainly enjoy it, but it might not make the show. And who knows? You could even just have an entire show dedicated to your email, like last week.
Yeah, we enjoy all of them. I want to make that clear. Even the nonsense, just, chatting it up. Like, here's this information so you guys know it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we love all the emails. We just it's really cool to hear from listeners because I still don't believe that you guys exist. That there's like people out there crazy enough to sit and listen to me talk for an hour.
Yeah, that we get downloads and stuff. It's just like I thought there would be more people saying things to me. I thought there'd be more feedback, and I haven't gotten a single piece of like not constructive negative feedback. Like I've heard people struggle with it and like have a hard time because people are saying rude things, and you guys have been nothing but like perfect, helpful, awesome. Like we just have the greatest community or the most like I don't know what it is. Like it really is awesome. We just
got the best listeners.
Am I that great? Fans. Am I really that great? Yeah.
See, that can't be what it is. We just have good listeners. That has to be the answer because there's no way that you and I are just killing it. Like, we just must have really just good, patient, understanding, loving listeners.
Yeah, like listeners that understand even if we get something wrong, they can disagree with it, and
yeah, we're still just
they're still good.
Technically improving.
Like, I honestly think that's like one of the cool parts about our show. Like, even if we're wrong, listeners can evaluate that for themselves, and they've kind of grown because they're at least thinking about it and checking their own, like, okay, I think he's wrong here. And there's a bunch of good things that even if we are wrong, that can come from that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it also helps that for the most part, especially you, I sometimes can get kind of like, I can get like really into like the hyperbolic, like Magic player, like, this is my opinion, eat it, And I try not to be, but I think it helps a lot that you and I are very open to the feedback when it's constructive, and very open to like accepting that we're probably wrong and wanting to understand how things actually are.
I mean, you can't survive in a call center without having someone yell something at you that's like, you're wrong and you suck, and you're like,
okay,
you know what? Shut up. But I'll think about that for a little bit, and I'll make sure that I'm right. Like,
yeah.
Not that I've ever gotten in that debate with our viewers, but like, yeah, we can take constructed criticism.
Yeah, honestly. Constructed criticism. That was pretty good.
Quite.
That actually leads us into like a perfect segue that I just ruined by pointing out the segue. Another huge way that you can support the show is to go support the network that we're affiliated. Go to the Constructed Criticism YouTube page, like and favorite and subscribe and do all that YouTube stuff. And you get to partake in all the wonderful MTG content that Spencer Howland and the gang are putting out at Constructed Criticism.
We're growing pretty steady there. I love it.
Yeah. Like, I guess like they had limited time only. They had Constructed Criticism. And
I'm just talking subscriber count.
Oh, I'm talking about like actual shows. So they had those two shows, and then I think we started, and then limited time only kind of dissolved. But like 3 other shows popped up. Like there's now the Even Odds podcast. There's, God, I don't even remember the name of them all. I'm pretty sure there's like 5 podcasts on the network, plus the Trophy Mages that are always like streaming. Yeah, there's a lot going on over with the Constructed Criticism. So seriously, check it out. So many good stuff. And I'm going to say it a little differently this time.
All right, I'm going to tune out.
I keep giving one host all the love. But John Stern, you guys. John Stern's really good at Magic cards. So come on. Go listen to the show with John Stern on it.
That's not Popper.
No, it's not, but it's John Stern.
That's not Popper.
I feel like I'm always giving Seth Manfield the love. Bruh. I'm always giving Seth Manfield all the love, but like, and I think it's just because like I always see Seth Manfield, right? Like he's always like crushing a GP or like winning the world championships or something like that. And it's sort of easy to forget about John Stern because he just kind of quietly dominates Magic. Like he just had a 9th place finish at a GP. He's a Platinum Pro, or he's a Gold Pro, trying to make Platinum. I don't know. Go listen to them because they're good. Moving on, because this is getting really long. We're just going to knock out the rest of this hashtag always promoting segment.
Okay.
Thank you to our sponsors, PureMTGO.com and InkGaming.com. If you use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout with Ink Gaming, you can get 10% off of your order. And now, the most important part of hashtag always promoting. Where can the listeners find you, Sean?
You can find me on Twitter at Lobbert8. I'm going to spell it Lobbert, number 8. And then you can also search for Lobbert on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that I post videos to like maybe once a month because, you know, I do a million things. And where can they find you, Brandon?
You can find me at bclark_CK. You can find our podcast on CK Podcast MTG, and you can find our Facebook group at Common Knowledge.
Okay, bye.